Why was your merchant account application declined? Hi, my name is Maria Sparagas, and I am the founder of Direct Payment, and I help thousands of merchants navigate the complex world of payment processing and find reliable payment solutions for their websites. Today, I really want to talk to you about why your merchant account application is declined. As a merchant processor, I see thousands of applications every month, and many of those get declined. And oftentimes, declines are due to just some technicalities or a couple of things that you can do to make your application be approved. So I'm going to go over the main reasons that I see applications to get declined so you can be more successful in your next merchant account application. Now, this is going to be a quick overview. If you really want to know specifically your case, why it was declined, you can feel free to contact somebody in my sales team or go to directpayment.com and fill out a contact form. We'll get back to you and take a look and give you a better analysis. Now, the main thing that I see oftentimes is, what are you selling? If you go and apply for a merchant account and your website isn't ready, meaning we can't see what you're selling or what's the product or any details of what you're selling, you are automatically declined. Now, regardless of whether you're getting the business set up or kind of getting things rolling, you need to have a fully functional website. You need to show the bank what you're selling. The bank cannot approve an application if they don't know what you're selling. So first of all, make sure you're clear on what you're selling and it is clear on your website. Now, kind of digging in a little bit further from there, is your product or service considered high risk? Now, if you're selling a digital product, you have a subscription, you're selling a health, beauty, supplements type product, you are considered what we would say high risk in payment processing. There's also a slew of other types of business niches that would be considered high risk. Coaching, for example, anything pharmaceutical, subscription products, magazines, and so forth. So I'll link down another episode, explain to you what is high risk. But if you figure out that you are a high risk merchant, the number one thing to do is not to just go and apply willy-nilly to every processor that you find. You need to find a payment processor like Direct Payment that can help you, because we work with high-risk merchants. Not all payment processors do. So make sure when you're applying that you are clear that this particular merchant processor is accepting high-risk merchant. Now, the reason for that is essentially you're wasting your time. If you are going to a merchant processor that does not work with high-risk merchants, all you're doing is you're wasting your time. They're also doing a credit check perhaps on you. So there could be, your credit score could be affected. Now, what you're doing is you're wasting your time if you're applying for a merchant processor that does not work with high-risk merchants. Also, every single time that you apply for a merchant account, there is a soft credit inquiry. That is a 3-point credit inquiry. So if you apply to 10 different merchant processors and they do a credit check, well, your credit score just went down 30 points. It is a soft credit inquiry most of the time, so it comes back after 30 days, but you don't want to go willy-nilly applying to every single merchant processor that you can find, because it will affect your credit score and it will affect future application. Now, going back to the website is pretty much your store. So just like when a physical business goes to their bank to get a terminal in order to accept credit card payments, your business is online. And you need to explain to the bank what you are selling. So you need to explain the product or service, the pricing, how much are you selling it for? If you're rebilling and, there's a subscription, what's the frequency? What's the price point? Just really all those details need to be clearly available on your website. Very often I get, a merchant that applies for a merchant account and they send us a website that's half done. We don't know what they're selling. We don't know the prices of what they're selling. So those are automatic rejects. And now you may turn around and say, hey, Maria, I'm not done. I'm getting stuff ready. I'm launching my business. I'm launching a website and so forth. Well, great. You need to come when you are done your website to apply for a merchant application. You can't expect the bank to give you an account to accept credit cards for a product they're unclear they can support. So make sure your website is ready. It includes a checkout page. So even if the checkout page is not attached to a merchant processor, they want to be able to see how they're collecting credit card information. So just to summarize that point, you need to have a checkout page. You need to have a clear product description. You need to have pricing and what's included for that price. And that is a non-negotiable. If you go to a merchant processor without these things, you are toast. You're getting declined right off the bat. And also, just for compliance purposes and ensuring that things go very smoothly when they're looking through your website, make sure you have a privacy policy, make sure you have terms and conditions, you have a contact us. If you are shipping products, make sure you have shipping timelines and how long the customers can get the products, as well as a refund policy detailed in your terms and conditions. Now, I see this all the time, especially for startup type businesses or businesses that are less mature. They go on to other websites and they copy and paste their terms and conditions and so forth and just put them on their website. Please don't do that. You don't want to copy somebody else's terms and conditions. You could use them perhaps as a template, but make sure, first of all, the company name matches your company name, the pricing matches your pricing. If you have subscriptions and all the details of that is there, the refund policy is really your own and so forth. You can't imagine how many times I get a website, I take a look at the terms and conditions and I see another company name, pricing that doesn't match what's on the website and so forth. That's an automatic decline. You're done. They're not moving forward. It ruins your chances with that payment processor because they think you may be committing fraud or, you're copying someone and you're not supposed to. So maybe some trademark issues. So please make sure the page footer that includes your terms and conditions, your privacy policy, your contact information, anything that has to do with refunds and shipping is all your information and it's clear and precise to what you're selling. So don't skip out on that. That is really a minor detail and it really doesn't take too much time to get it done correctly. So make sure you get that done before you proceed with your application. Now, kind of building on the whole website thing, oftentimes I get a URL, I click on it and then half the buttons aren't working, half the pages aren't working, I'm getting errors and so forth. Again, that's an automatic decline. So make sure, if you haven't understood yet, that your website is fully functional, the buttons are fully functional, it's very clear what you're selling. If you're not sure, ask a friend to take a look and say, hey, what do you think of this website? Would you be interested in buying what's on there? And if they're like, well, I don't know what you're selling. Well, that's a big problem to begin with. So make sure it's very clear what you're selling, the price points of what you're selling, subscription-wise and so forth, privacy policy terms, all that kind of legal compliance stuff, that has to be there. Don't ignore it. You ignore it, you're getting an automatic decline. And the worst part about it is that sometimes you just add these things and you get approved, but your payment processor or whoever you're going to be working with just declines you and you can't get that feedback. Why? You don't know why you were declined. And most of the time, I would tell you that's the reason, is there's issues on the website. Now, another big point to consider is your business and your corporate setup. So, sometimes, especially with new ventures and so forth, there's declines. And even for existing businesses, there could be some underlying issues. So number one, if you are on the match list, which I can link an episode down below talking about what the match list is. If you have heard that word, match list or terminated merchant file, from one of your previous processors, I will guarantee you will make things so much easier if you approach another payment processor and you explain that you are on the match list. Because what happens is that we check the match list. We go through the whole underwriting. We look at your business setup. We look at your website. We look at your application. We run your credit. And then at the end, we check if you're on the match list. So it really sucks for you to be dragged through this whole process just to be told, oh, well, you're on match list, so we can't move on. Match list is essentially being kind of blacklisted off merchant processing. Maybe you did something wrong in the past. Maybe you had very high chargebacks and a previous processor put you there. But whatever the case is, if you know that you are on a match list, I guarantee you it will make things so much easier if you already tell the merchant processor that you're working with or you're trying to get approved from that you are on the match list. If they have a no match policy in the sense of like, we don't accept match merchants, then it's very simple. Don't even bother applying. They won't approve you. So there's no point. There are some merchant processors like Direct Payment that can work with match merchants, although we have some strict guidelines of what we can accept as a match merchant. So it's best off you're just honest, straightforward, and you explain that you are on match list, and then you try to find a partner that can work with you. Now, building off that, if you've declared a bankruptcy in the past and in the last 7 years it's still on your file and you are bankrupt, you should mention that, because there is a credit check that's run for your merchant account application. And if you have been bankrupt, odds are you'll be declined, or there's going to be some severe conditions for you to get approved. For example, a high reserved or delayed settlement or a very small cap. So it's important, if you know these issues like match list or bankruptcy, that you just straight up tell the merchant processor, because I guarantee you they will find out and you're wasting your time, you're wasting their time, and they will be more frustrated that you weren't straight up and straightforward about it. So if you were previously bankrupt, you might as well just tell them and then ask them if they accept merchants like in your situation. And if they say no, you move on and you try to find another merchant processor. Now, building on that, if you have a low credit score, it's possible that you get declined because they feel a little bit uneasy to approve you. And it can be a lot of building blocks. For example, if you're a started business with no previous processing history, then your payment processor is relying a lot on your personal credit score to see if they want to support you. If your credit score is bad and you have no previous history, odds are things aren't going to go very well in your merchant account application. So it's important to talk through these things with your payment processor or whoever you're trying to work with to try to find solutions that might help you. Now, one thing you can do in that scenario is if you have a low credit score and you have no previous processing history, you could go to Stripe or PayPal or another third-party processor to try to build up a little bit of history to show that, hey, I can make sales and my customers are happy and so forth. And then you can go back after a couple of months to apply at the merchant processor. And once you have a couple of months of processing history, it does make approval much easier because they can rely on previous sales history and so forth to decide whether they want to support your business. Now, building on the business and corporate setup, if you have no money in your bank account, because the merchant processor will ask you a couple of months of bank statements, and if you have no money in your bank account, that is a big risk for them. For example, if you're making $20,000, $30,000 a month in sales and 10,000 of these end up becoming refunds for whatever reason, if you have no money in your bank account, that stresses a merchant processor out because they're like, well, how are we going to be able to fund these refunds if this person has no money? So whatever the case is, when you're going to apply for a merchant account, especially if you're a newer business with, less than a year history, you want to have a padded bank account. Now, I can't tell you exactly how much will make sense, but, it really all depends on how much you're processing. But sending over statements that show, $50 in the bank account, that's going to be a red flag, and that might cause you to get declined. So try to put in some money to support the starting operations of your business. If you're applying, for example, for $50,000 a month, as your cap, you want to have at least, a third to half of that in your bank account. So the bank can feel comfortable that, you have some money there for any refunds or chargebacks or anything that might happen in your business, and you're not just running a very, very tight business. Now, I know that's difficult when you're starting or when you're running a business with very small profit margins, but do your best to have, some money in there, because I will tell you, when a merchant processor sees, a couple of $100 in a bank account and just very little money in the bank account, that's a red flag. And that usually causes them to either ask for a high reserve or not be able to support your business. Now, I know this is a lot of information, and if you have any questions and you're like, I don't understand why I was declined and so forth, feel free to get in touch with somebody from my team, directpaynet.com, fill out a contact form, we'll get back to you and we'll take a look at your account to see what we can do to try to get you approved. But I hope you enjoyed this episode and it will help you knock your next merchant account application out of the ballpark and get approved. Have yourself a great day.